The seafloor in late afternoon glows gold beneath a sheet of shallow water. Threads of sunlight ripple across sand and coral, refracted through wave crests that flicker like a broken mirror. Nothing moves at first glance, just a scatter of rubble and seagrass. Then the sand itself blinks. A patch of color, once beige, flares with sepia stripes. A small mound reshapes into eyes, arms, and a mantle. A cuttlefish materializes out of the background, not emerging but reappearing, as if the reef had decided to animate part of itself. The transformation takes less than a second. The cuttlefish's camouflage is not paint laid over skin, but biology behaving like electronics. Across its body lies an array of chromatophores, tiny sacs of pigment controlled by muscles thinner than hairs. Each chromatophore can expand or contract independently, revealing or concealing one of several colors, yellow, red, or brown. Deeper still, iridophores and leucophores act as mirrors and diffusers, reflecting and scattering ambient light to create structural blues, greens, and whites. Together they form a living, layered display. Pigment, reflection, and scattering stacked like pixels on a screen. When the cuttlefish flexes its muscles, the skin becomes a dynamic mosaic capable of producing not only color, but pattern and contrast. It is as if the animal wears an LED screen built from living tissue. The precision is astonishing. A cuttlefish can match the pattern of coral rubble one moment and mimic the flowing shimmer of open sand the next. Its nervous system reads the environment through eyes shaped like commas, which perceive polarization and contrast far better than color itself. The brain then translates those signals into muscle commands that activate millions of chromatophores in coordinated choreography. The entire sequence, from perception to skin change, occurs faster than a human blink. The accuracy is not learned but instinctive. Even juveniles freshly hatched from their gelatinous eggs can camouflage flawlessly, though they have never seen the substrate before. Evolution has hard-coded a neural catalog of textures and patterns ready for immediate use. But camouflage is only one layer of the illusion. The cuttlefish can also sculpt its body into three-dimensional form. By controlling bundles of muscle beneath the skin, it can raise small spikes called papillae, altering its texture to resemble coral, algae, or jagged rock. This mechanical mimicry turns two-dimensional camouflage into three-dimensional deceit. When danger passes, the papillae retract, returning the animal to smooth hydrodynamic efficiency for swimming. This ability to toggle between form and function, armor and stealth, is what makes the cuttlefish such a consummate shapeshifter. When hunting, the deception reverses. Instead of hiding, the cuttlefish becomes a light show. It drifts toward a crab or shrimp, arms poised, while waves of color ripple down its flanks. This passing cloud display, bands of darkness that move like shadows of drifting clouds, has a hypnotic effect. Prey animals freeze, their visual systems overwhelmed by the rhythmic motion. In that split second of hesitation, the cuttlefish fires two feeding tentacles from beneath its arms, tipped with suction cups that seize the prey with astonishing precision. The strike is powered by elastic energy stored in muscular coils, releasing faster than a camera shutter. The entire event, from start to finish, lasts less than a tenth of a second. What looks like art is, in truth, a calculated neurological exploit, a visual hack evolved over millions of years. The mastery of appearance extends into their social world. During mating season, cuttlefish gather in loose assemblies where males compete for females. The contests are not always fought with teeth or strength, but with color and deception. A dominant male may flaunt high-contrast zebra bands to intimidate rivals, while simultaneously displaying gentle mottled tones on the side facing a female. This is split-signal communication, one flank broadcasting aggression, the other seduction. The animal's skin becomes a double-sided billboard, half war flag, half love letter, controlled by hemispheres of the brain working in parallel. Such divided signaling demands extraordinary neural complexity. Each side of the body can process different inputs and execute distinct patterns simultaneously, a feat rarely seen outside cephalopods. Not all males play by the same rules. Smaller individuals, unable to outfight larger rivals, resort to disguise. They adopt the coloration and behavior of females, slipping past aggressive males to mate covertly. Some even mimic the undulating courtship gestures of females so convincingly that rivals ignore them. When the dominant males are distracted, these imposters seize their moment. In evolutionary terms, deceit becomes survival strategy, and intelligence is measured not by strength, but by cunning. The intelligence of cuttlefish rivals that of animals far removed from their molluscan lineage. Their brains are proportionally among the largest of invertebrates, organized into lobes dedicated to vision, learning, and motor control. They can navigate mazes, remember symbols, and adjust hunting tactics based on past experience. Laboratory experiments show them delaying gratification, choosing to wait for a larger reward rather than take an immediate smaller one, demonstrating impulse control on par with some vertebrates. In the wild, such cognitive flexibility translates into adaptability across habitats. Cuttlefish inhabit everything from shallow seagrass beds to open sandy plains, shifting camouflage algorithms accordingly. Communication among cuttlefish extends into a visual dimension invisible to most reef animals. Their skin reflects polarized light, and they can perceive polarization through specialized photoreceptors. By modulating the angle of polarization in their skin reflections, they can send signals readable to other cuttlefish, but invisible to fish and predators. It is a private language of light, a secure channel evolved under evolutionary pressure. To human eyes, two cuttlefish might appear motionless and cryptic, but through polarization, they could be engaged in an active dialogue, challenging, courting, or coordinating movements. This secret communication system grants them both stealth and social complexity. Their visual sophistication is matched by their eyes, which rank among the most advanced in the animal kingdom. The pupils form distinctive W shapes, a design that balances light across the retina in variable illumination. Their eyes can detect contrast in nearly total darkness, aided by retinal structures that reorient in response to changing light conditions. Yet paradoxically, cuttlefish are almost colorblind. Their world is one of brightness and texture rather than hue, suggesting that their extraordinary camouflage does not require seeing color, only understanding contrast. The fact that an animal blind to its own palette can paint with it so effectively underscores the depth of its neural design. Predators that manage to catch a cuttlefish discover another illusion. When cornered, the animal ejects a cloud of ink, melanin-rich, dense, and laced with mucus strands that form a decoy shape resembling the cuttlefish itself. This pseudomorph drifts in the water while the real animal jets away, already blending into the background. The strategy is both chemical and psychological, a split-second diversion perfected through countless generations. Even after the ink disperses, the predator's confusion lingers, buying the cuttlefish enough time to vanish completely. Ecologically, cuttlefish occupy a pivotal role between predator and prey. They regulate populations of crustaceans and small fish while providing essential nourishment to larger predators such as sharks and dolphins. Their short lifespans, often less than 2 years, force a rapid cycle of growth, reproduction, and death, driving energy through marine food webs. In spawning seasons, females deposit clusters of black-inked eggs under rocks or coral crevices, each resembling a grape. The young that hatch are miniature replicas, already equipped with functioning chromatophores and hunting instincts. Within hours, they begin practicing the art of disguise that defines their lineage. Yet even the perfect illusion has vulnerabilities. Climate change and ocean acidification threaten the delicate balance of ions that control cuttlefish buoyancy and shell formation within their internal cuttlebone. Rising temperatures can also disrupt camouflage efficiency by altering the light environment these animals evolved to read. In an ocean becoming less predictable, even masters of adaptation face limits. Still, watching a cuttlefish transform before one's eyes feels like witnessing thought made visible. The skin ripples, colors morph, papillae rise and fall. It is both art and computation, biology expressing physics through behavior. In each flicker of pigment lies a decision: hide, hunt, seduce, or deceive. Evolution has written those instructions not in words but in muscle and membrane, allowing the cuttlefish to converse with its surroundings in real time. When the tide turns and shadows lengthen, the cuttlefish settles back onto the sand. Its body smooths, its color fades into the sea floor. A moment later it is gone again, merged with the world that created it. To any predator passing by, the reef appears quiet, unchanged. But beneath that stillness waits an animal whose skin thinks faster than most brains. A living screen running the oldest code in the sea, to see, to adapt, to survive. In the shallows where coral gardens break the sunlight into golden shards, an octopus stirs among rubble. The water is warm and clear, thick with drifting plankton, and every stone seems alive with the tiny movements of reef creatures. From beneath a patch of coral, a single eye peers out, the pupil a slit like an eclipse. Around it, arms coil and uncoil, each tasting the current through sensitive suckers. The octopus is at home here, yet its home is never permanent. This is a creature that builds fortresses in the morning, hunts by dusk, and may abandon everything by dawn. Its world is one of improvisation, architecture, disguise, and constant motion. The octopus's intelligence does not sit neatly inside its head. More than 2/3 of its neurons are distributed through its 8 arms. Each arm acts as a semi-autonomous problem solver, capable of responding to touch, taste, and texture without waiting for signals from the brain. When an octopus explores, it does not simply move, it delegates. One arm pries under a rock, another tests a shell's weight, while the others brace or sweep the sand for movement. This decentralized nervous system allows the animal to process multiple tasks simultaneously, adapting faster than a single central brain could ever manage. In essence, it thinks with its body. Each arm is a brain unto itself, guided by a larger intelligence that coordinates the orchestra of movement. The den is both refuge and workshop. Using a mixture of suction precision and brute strength, the octopus rearranges its surroundings into defensive geometry. It drags shells, coral fragments, and stones to the mouth of its chosen crevice, building what scientists call middens, piles of debris that both conceal and advertise occupation. The discarded shells of prey form a perimeter wall, while larger rocks become a door, rolled neatly into place when the animal retreats inside. Observers have seen octopuses closing these doors behind them with surprising care, rotating them just so to block the entrance. It is engineering not by blueprint, but by touch and memory. The den is not only protection from predators, but a base for ambush, repair, and observation. From this vantage point, the octopus becomes an architect of opportunity. Its large, lidless eyes scan for silhouettes of fish, crabs, and shrimp. When it hunts, patience and precision define its method. The approach begins with camouflage, skin shifting color and texture to match coral or sand. Chromatophores beneath the skin expand and contract in real time, each one controlled by direct neural input. Beneath them, layers of iridophores and leucophores adjust reflectivity and brightness, turning the body into a living chameleon of the sea. The octopus does not simply hide, it performs. When a crab wanders too close, the transformation ends in a blur of motion, arms exploding outward, webs spreading like a parachute, and suckers sealing shut around the prey. This boldness is not reckless, but evolutionary necessity. The octopus lives fast and dies young. Most species survive less than 2 years, their life cycle compressed into a brief burst of growth, reproduction, and death. Females, after laying thousands of eggs, guard them obsessively, refusing food until they starve. This biological clock drives the urgency of every hunt. Each meal fuels rapid development, every risk measured against the short time left to live. In this sense, the octopus's daring raids into daylight shallows are not audacious. They are survival under a ticking timer. The high stakes are balanced by astonishing adaptability. When threatened, the octopus can vanish in a heartbeat. Sometimes it changes color, dissolving into coral. Other times it ejects a cloud of ink, a mixture of melanin and mucus that forms a decoy called a pseudomorph. The blob drifts in the water, roughly the same size and shape as the octopus itself. Predators strike the false target, while the real animal jets away behind a smokescreen. This combination of chemistry and deception reveals an evolved understanding of not just escape, but misdirection. The octopus has learned to control the perception of others as much as its own body. When flight is impossible, the octopus turns to a last startling defense, the diamatic display. It flares its body, spreads its webbed arms and flashes high-contrast colors, white rings, black outlines, and bursts of red or brown. This sudden explosion of patterns startles potential predators, interrupting their attack sequence just long enough for the octopus to flee. Diamatic behavior is an evolutionary bluff, a momentary act of theater. The octopus relies on confusion and surprise, two weapons as powerful as any venom or armor. But even beyond camouflage and mimicry lies something rarer: creativity. Octopuses have been documented collecting discarded coconut shells or halves of clams, carrying them across the sea floor like portable shelters. When danger approaches, they assemble these parts into instant bunkers, climbing inside and closing the lid. In aquaria, they unscrew jars, dismantle equipment, and rearrange objects with apparent curiosity. Their arms, lined with thousands of individually controlled suckers, provide both the dexterity of hands and the awareness of tongues. Each sucker can taste what it touches, detecting chemical signatures in the water. For the octopus, the world is not only seen, it is tasted and felt at once. In the wild, this sensory mastery makes them superb problem solvers. An octopus can track the vibrations of a crab moving under sand or sense the faint scent trail left by a wounded fish. It uses arms like feelers, sweeping methodically until contact is made, then striking with an explosive burst of coordination. Even when one arm is severed by a predator, it continues to move and grasp for minutes, a reflex of distributed intelligence. The remaining arms quickly compensate, rewriting the body's map to restore balance. Few animals exhibit such dynamic self-repair in both body and behavior. The octopus's life in the coral garden is a paradox of fragility and strength. It has no bones, no armor, no scales, only skin and muscle. Yet this flexibility allows it to slip through openings smaller than its own eyes, folding and compressing to escape predators or infiltrate narrow crevices. Inside these hidden chambers, it becomes invisible, a ghost inhabiting the cracks of the reef. The same body that lacks rigidity becomes the ultimate survival tool, able to shift from solid to liquid in a single movement. Every den tells the story of a mind at work. The shell piles grow with time, testifying to successful hunts. The arrangement of rocks changes as the octopus improves its design. Sometimes it relocates entirely, abandoning an old site for new terrain when prey patterns shift or when the presence of too many fish threatens exposure. These decisions are not random, they are choices made from experience. The octopus remembers what works and what fails, learning the geography of its reef as intimately as we learn the streets of our cities. Predators still come, moray eels probing the rocks, reef sharks sweeping the shallows, groupers lurking near coral heads. Each threat requires a different escape: jet propulsion for speed, camouflage for stealth, ink for confusion. Some octopuses even use mimicry, shaping arms and posture to resemble venomous lionfish or poisonous flatfish. Evolution has armed them with flexibility rather than force, intelligence rather than armor. Yet all this brilliance burns quickly. The octopus's brain, massive for its body size, consumes enormous energy, and its rapid metabolism leaves little margin for long life. The same traits that make it an innovator also ensure it will not last. When the end comes, after mating, after guarding eggs, the body decays swiftly. But the reef continues to benefit. Dead octopuses feed scavengers, and their dens become shelters for others, recycling their legacy into the living architecture of the coral. By night, the coral garden returns to silence. The octopus sleeps in its sealed den, one eye still open. Its skin flickers occasionally, brief flashes of color and pattern, as if the day's memories are replaying in its dreams. The chromatophores pulse faintly, a whisper of stored experience, perhaps the echo of a hunt or the motion of a fleeing crab. Whether this is true dreaming or simple nerve activity, no one knows. But it reminds us that this creature, so alien in form, is bound to the same restless rhythm of life: to build, to learn, to escape, and to begin again. The octopus is an engineer of its own survival, constructing homes from debris, solving problems with arms that think, and rewriting the rules of what it means to be intelligent. It is an animal that proves consciousness need not come with bones or hierarchy. In its brief and brilliant life, it becomes both artist and architect of the reef, a master of improvisation in a world of endless change. The ocean before dawn is a vast plain of gradients, inky blue fading into silver, the light still too weak to pierce the depths. Along the edge of the reef, where the shallows spill into open sea, a shape materializes from shadow. It moves with slow assurance, a rhythm both graceful and heavy, like a machine built from instinct. This is the tiger shark, the cleanup king of tropical seas. Striped like a shadowed barcode, it drifts just beneath the surface, its silhouette mirrored by the reef below. Everything in its movement suggests patience. An animal that knows time and scent will eventually bring it to food. At the scale of oceans, tiger sharks are custodians. They patrol the borderlands between reef and open water, following scent plumes invisible to us but vivid to them. Their nostrils, wide and deeply set, sample every passing current for traces of decay or blood. The ocean is a chemistry lab in motion, and tiger sharks read it as fluently as we read landscapes. A single molecule of decomposing flesh can guide them for kilometers. In this, they are not hunters of the chase, but navigators of scent. Riding the currents that flow along reef margins, they follow odor gradients in deliberate zigzags, adjusting course as one nostril detects a slightly stronger concentration than the other. The journey is slow, but it is efficient. Nothing wasted, no frantic pursuit. For tiger sharks, the feast is rarely fresh. They are drawn to carrion, whale carcasses, dead turtles, decaying fish, and even the refuse of human activity. They are nature's garbage trucks, converting waste into energy that re-enters the ecosystem. This role, though often overlooked, anchors reef health. Without scavengers like them, organic matter would accumulate, smothering benthic communities and altering nutrient flow. Instead, their patrols recycle death back into life. When a whale dies and sinks, it becomes an event, the fall attracting sharks, eels, and deep scavengers. Tiger sharks are often first on the scene, tearing at the soft tissue before bacteria and abyssal fauna take over. Each bite transfers stored oceanic carbon from one level of the food web to another. Their sensory suite is a masterpiece of evolution's engineering. At long range, chemical cues drive them. At closer range, they shift to a world of electric signals. Across their snouts are scattered thousands of ampullae of Lorenzini, gel-filled pores capable of detecting the faint electrical fields generated by living muscle. The electric hum of a struggling turtle, the minute twitch of a buried ray, even the heartbeat of an unseen fish beneath sand, each emits a whisper the shark can hear without ears. This electroreception allows the final strike to be surgical, even when the target is hidden in darkness or murky water. When tiger sharks feed, their method is pragmatic rather than elegant. They bite and test, retreat and swallow. Their jaws are built not for speed but for crushing, a design meant to handle anything from tough turtle shells to thick-skinned dolphins. They can rotate their upper jaw outward during bites, increasing leverage and cutting angle. Everything about their anatomy speaks of versatility, from teeth shaped like serrated cleavers to stomachs capable of digesting bone, feathers, and even license plates. This adaptability has made them one of the few truly cosmopolitan sharks, capable of thriving in coral seas, seagrass bays, and open ocean alike. Yet their importance goes beyond cleanup. Tiger sharks are apex predators whose presence regulates entire food webs. When they patrol a reef, herbivorous turtles and dugongs alter their grazing behavior, avoiding exposed seagrass meadows. This ecology of fear prevents overgrazing, allowing seagrass beds to regenerate and trap carbon. When tiger sharks decline, turtles graze freely, stripping meadows down to sediment, which releases stored carbon back into the water and atmosphere. The absence of one predator reshapes an entire ecosystem's metabolism. In this sense, tiger sharks are engineers of stability, keeping prey populations mobile, habitats productive, and nutrients flowing through cycles that sustain coral growth and biodiversity. They're also creatures of immense range. Tagged individuals have been recorded traveling thousands of kilometers across ocean basins, yet many return predictably to certain reefs or atolls. Their navigation is a mix of current surfing and geomagnetic awareness. Like sea turtles, tiger sharks may sense subtle variations in Earth's magnetic field, using them as invisible coordinates. This allows them to revisit carrion-rich corridors where whales seasonally migrate and die, or where fishing activity inadvertently provides bycatch. In such places, they function as both cleanup crew and regulators, removing weak or dead animals while ensuring no carcass lingers long enough to destabilize local chemistry. Despite their size and power, tiger sharks are surprisingly methodical. They often approach carcasses or prey cautiously, circling several times, sampling with short exploratory bites. Some scientists interpret this as an information-gathering behavior, assessing the chemical and tactile feedback through their sensory systems before committing. To human observers, it can appear as curiosity, but it is more than that. It is decision-making, an expression of an animal processing multiple data streams simultaneously: scent gradients, electrical fields, water pressure, and memory. In evolutionary terms, this intelligence is not abstract thought, but finely tuned perception shaped by millions of years of refinement. Their ecological reach extends into realms most predators never touch. By scavenging, they prevent nutrient bottlenecks. By hunting, they maintain balance. Yet their very success has drawn human conflict. Because tiger sharks are opportunists, they sometimes approach fishing grounds or coastal areas, leading to rare but highly publicized encounters with humans. These incidents, exaggerated through fear and media, have often led to culling campaigns that disrupt local shark populations. The irony is stark. By removing tiger sharks in the name of safety, humans inadvertently weaken reef resilience, setting off trophic cascades that degrade fisheries and coral health. In some regions, tiger sharks serve as inadvertent archivists of ocean pollution. Necropsies reveal stomachs containing plastics, rubber, and fishing gear, artifacts of human industry mistaken for food. Unlike smaller animals, they can survive ingesting these materials for a time, but the cost is cumulative. Sharp objects tear internal tissues, plastics block digestion, and chemicals leach into flesh. What the tiger shark consumes, it embodies, becoming a living ledger of human excess. Still, even amid this intrusion, tiger sharks remain remarkably adaptive. They have been observed using tidal currents to conserve energy, gliding effortlessly through channels where water flow carries the scent of prey. They rise to warmer shallows to accelerate digestion, then descend into cooler depths to slow metabolism and extend foraging range. These thermoregulatory behaviors reveal an efficiency born of experience, a predator that calculates without calculation, guided by instinct, sharpened to the precision of a formula. When night falls, the reef edge comes alive again. Bioluminescent plankton flicker like sparks in the dark, and schools of baitfish shimmer along the slope. The tiger shark returns to its patrol, cutting through the water with silent purpose. Above, the moon traces a path across the sky. Below, the shark follows invisible trails of scent and current. Somewhere ahead, the faint odor of decay drifts from a dead sea turtle caught in a coral crevice. The shark adjusts course, closing in. Its role is not villainous, not cruel. It is functional. Every bite recycles nutrients, prevents rot, and sustains the balance that allows coral reefs to breathe. When we speak of ocean health, we often picture coral, fish, and color. But balance depends just as much on the unseen maintenance crews, the scavengers and cleaners who erase death before it festers. The tiger shark, feared and misunderstood, is among the most vital of them all. Its presence keeps ecosystems honest. Its absence lets waste accumulate, algae bloom, and prey populations spiral unchecked. So, as the dawn breaks again over the reef, the tiger shark continues its endless circuit, a striped sentinel of equilibrium. It does not seek glory or conquest, only the steady fulfillment of its role. In the theater of marine life, it is both custodian and enforcer, a creature that keeps the system clean by consuming what others abandon. a garbage truck with teeth, powered by evolution, ensuring that the sea never stagnates. The lagoon is still after a storm. Silt hangs suspended in the water like smoke, muting color and sound. The reef fish that survived the surge cling close to coral heads, their movements tentative, wary of the new terrain sculpted overnight by the chaos of wind and wave. The water seems empty, but from the shadowed overhang of a ledge, a ripple of movement betrays a presence. Striped bands, white and rust red, drift forward with the delicacy of a feather falling through air. A lionfish, fanning its pectoral fins like a living crown of needles, hovers motionless. Beneath the elegance is a hunter running equations, distance, angle, water flow, and the next fraction of a second that will decide its meal. Lionfish are not predators in the typical sense of chase and strike. They are mathematicians of stillness. Each movement through the water is calculated to minimize turbulence, every fin rotation tuned to silence. Their pectoral fins, broad and fringed, serve as both sensory panels and herding walls. When a lionfish approaches a small fish or shrimp, it spreads these fins into a semicircle, gently corralling its prey against a reef surface or pocket of still water. The fins create a subtle optical trap, disrupting the prey's sense of escape routes. Then, in a movement nearly invisible to the human eye, the lionfish opens its mouth. That gape is more than a bite. It is a vacuum. The strike occurs in less than 20 milliseconds, generating suction powerful enough to drag water and prey into its mouth faster than the prey's muscles can contract. The physics behind this feeding style are extraordinary. The lionfish's jaw joints and cranial bones are designed to flare outward, creating a temporary chamber of low pressure. As water rushes in, the prey follows, sucked whole before it realizes movement has occurred. The efficiency is so complete that in slow-motion footage, the prey appears to vanish rather than be bitten. For a lionfish, this is energy economy, maximal intake for minimal motion, a formula evolution has perfected through stillness and precision. Their success as hunters is amplified by a behavior few reef predators employ: hovering. Lionfish are masters of neutral buoyancy, adjusting internal swim bladder pressure until they can remain suspended in one position without a single fin beat. This allows them to move through the water like ghosts, scanning with stereoscopic vision for subtle motion cues. In the dim hours after sunset, when many reef fish enter their torpor sleep phase, the lionfish begins its silent patrol. Nighttime is its domain, a window of lowered vigilance across the reef. Juvenile fish that have survived daylight predators now face a new one, an assassin with patience. After storms, when reef structure is rearranged and juvenile fish are forced from shelter, lionfish feeding rates can triple. Turbulence scatters larvae and small fish into open patches where the water remains clouded, reducing visibility for prey, but not for the lionfish, which relies less on sight and more on water displacement sensed through its lateral line. The chaos left behind by nature's fury becomes its buffet. In the stillness following destruction, the lionfish's methodical hunt begins. It would be easy to think of lionfish as simple predators, but their design is a lesson in multifunctional anatomy. The same fins that herd and hover also communicate, intimidate, and defend. Each spine along their dorsal, pelvic, and anal fins is hollow and filled with venom. When threatened, the lionfish pivots sideways, presenting its silhouette in full, an explosion of lines and points. This display is not bluster, but geometry, a sudden transformation of shape that tells predators, attack, and you will regret it. The venom, a potent mix of neurotoxins and proteins, causes excruciating pain and systemic shock in larger animals. For would-be attackers, moray eels, groupers, even sharks, this changes the risk calculus entirely. To strike at a lionfish is to gamble life for a mouthful of needles. This defense grants lionfish an almost arrogant composure. They do not flee, they simply turn to face threats, spreading fins like a theater curtain. In the Indo-Pacific, where they evolved, this balance of offense and defense kept them in check. Predators there, such as cornetfish and large eels, know how to approach carefully, aiming between spines to swallow them head first. But outside their native range, the story changes. In the Atlantic and Caribbean, where lionfish have become one of the most notorious invasive species on record, predators have yet to learn the trick. Here, their silent mathematics of hunting meets ecological anarchy. In these invaded waters, lionfish densities reach staggering levels. A single female can release tens of thousands of eggs every few days during breeding season, and with little predation pressure, the population explodes. Each lionfish consumes prey equal to nearly 2% of its body weight daily, targeting juveniles of reef species vital to ecological balance. Over time, their relentless precision empties reefs of small fish, herbivores that keep algae in check, and prey species that feed larger predators. The result is a cascading collapse. What began as a beautiful ornamental species in aquariums has become a biological weapon unleashed by accident. The mechanics of their invasion highlight an unsettling truth. Intelligence in nature does not always come from brains. It can be built into anatomy, into instinct, into the ability to exploit the physics of water and the psychology of prey. Lionfish are proof that evolution can produce creatures that function like algorithms, input, calculation, output, with ruthless consistency. Their hunting patterns follow mathematical predictability. Approach angle within 30 degrees of prey, strike range of 2 body lengths, suction efficiency that removes the need for pursuit. In ecological terms, they are not just predators but living formulas of entropy, eroding diversity one equation at a time. Yet there is another side to the lionfish's story, one that underscores nature's balance between control and collapse. In their native Indo-Pacific ecosystems, lionfish play a subtle role as population managers. By preying on fast-breeding reef fish and crustaceans, they prevent overcompetition for coral space. They are precision regulators, maintaining equilibrium through selective pressure. Remove or misplace them, and their talent becomes destruction. Context, more than any single adaptation, defines the morality of evolution. Scientists studying lionfish have found surprising nuances in their social and sensory behavior. During group hunts, they sometimes coordinate, herding prey together using fin movements and positioning, a rare case of cooperative predation in fish. They also communicate visually, using fin flares and body postures to signal intent. Such cooperation, though limited, hints at cognitive sophistication uncommon among solitary reef hunters. And while venom protects them from most threats, it does not make them immortal. Parasites still infest their gills, and storms can dislodge them from territories, forcing slow migrations to safer ground. Even perfection in one domain demands compromise in another. From a design perspective, lionfish fins are marvels of biomechanics. Each pectoral ray contains an array of muscles capable of independent control, allowing nuanced motion like fingers manipulating water. The wing-like structure not only traps prey, but also stabilizes the animal in surge-prone environments. Their ability to hover motionless owes as much to fine motor control as to buoyancy. This kind of stability, maintaining position in three-dimensional space without forward momentum, is extremely rare in fish, requiring continuous sensory feedback and micro-adjustments that verge on the mechanical. As night deepens, the lionfish withdraws into a pocket of coral, its fins folding neatly, spines angled backward. The reef around it hums with quiet life. Shrimp click beneath rocks, plankton rise in vertical migration, and distant grouper grunts echo through the water. The lionfish remains still, its stripes dissolving into the pattern of the reef. It has eaten enough for now. Tomorrow, when sunlight filters back through the lagoon, it will drift once again between ledges, each move deliberate, each strike silent and precise. Its story is one of elegance and danger intertwined, a creature designed not for speed or aggression, but for perfect efficiency. In the equations of reef life, it represents both the beauty of balance and the risk of disruption. When in its rightful home, it is a component of harmony. When displaced, it becomes chaos embodied. Evolution built the lionfish to solve one problem: how to feed in the stillness of coral labyrinths. It solved it so completely that when placed in new oceans, it began solving all problems, until none remained. Striped, venomous, and eerily patient, it hovers at the crossroads of biology and mathematics, a hunter whose every move is silent calculation. At first glance, the mantis shrimp is unremarkable. It peeks from a hole in the reef, only its eyes visible, twin orbs perched on stalks, scanning in eerie precision. Then the light shifts and color explodes. Greens ripple into turquoise, reds flare into gold, and its armor gleams like polished enamel. It is no shrimp in the casual sense, but a gladiator disguised as a jewel. Hidden beneath this iridescence lies one of nature's most violent designs, an anatomical masterpiece capable of striking with the force of a bullet. The mantis shrimp does not stalk. It calculates. Its realm is the reef's underworld, a maze of burrows, tunnels, and coral cavities where light filters through like liquid glass. Within these confines, the mantis shrimp reigns as both predator and engineer. It constructs dens with the precision of an architect, stacking rubble and fragments to form a doorway it can barricade from the inside. Each den becomes a fortress, an arsenal, and sometimes a drum. When two mantis shrimp face off over territory, they do not always rush to combat. They announce themselves, striking the walls of their burrows with resonant beats produced by their dactyl clubs. These percussive signals echo through the rock, each rhythmic pulse a coded message of ownership and strength. For reef dwellers with ears tuned to vibration, the sound is unmistakable, the reef's artillery marking its claim. The weapon responsible for these sounds is one of the most extraordinary biological mechanisms ever evolved. The smasher mantis shrimp, as opposed to its spearer relatives, wields club-like appendages known as dactyls. Each is powered by a spring-loaded system housed in a structure called the saddle, an elastic, horseshoe-shaped piece of cuticle located near the limb joint. When the shrimp contracts its muscles, energy stores in this saddle, deforming it like a bent bow. At the moment of release, the limb accelerates at speeds approaching 80 kilometers per hour, delivering a strike so fast it creates a cavitation bubble, a flash of light and heat as the bubble collapses, briefly reaching temperatures comparable to the surface of the sun. Even if the initial blow misses, the imploding bubble delivers a secondary shockwave capable of stunning or killing prey. This combination of speed and pressure makes the mantis shrimp's attack among the most powerful movements in the animal kingdom. The impact can shatter aquarium glass, crack crab shells, and crush mollusk armor that would defeat nearly any other predator. Yet the shrimp's own weapon never breaks. The secret lies in its micro-architecture. The dactyl club is reinforced by a helicoidal arrangement of chitin fibers, a spiral stacking pattern that dissipates stress through layered twisting, much like the grain in wood or the structure of certain composite materials used in aerospace engineering. When researchers examined this design under microscopes, they found inspiration for next-generation armor and protective coatings. The mantis shrimp, in other words, has out-engineered humanity by millions of years. Its hunting behavior reflects both intelligence and audacity. From its burrow, the mantis shrimp watches for passing crabs, snails, or hermit crabs. Its eyes, each capable of moving independently, scan not just for movement, but for polarization, depth, and color contrast beyond human comprehension. The shrimp sees the world through 16 types of photoreceptors, compared to the mere 3 in human eyes. This allows it to perceive ultraviolet light, circularly polarized light, and intricate differences in reflection that no other known animal can fully interpret. What this means in practice is that a mantis shrimp can detect the shimmer of fish scales beneath sediment, the glint of a rival's armor through haze, or the faintest flicker of polarized light bouncing off prey even when hidden in camouflage. To its vision, the reef is not a blur of coral and shadow. It is a three-dimensional matrix of coded light. When the mantis shrimp strikes, there is no warning. It lunges from its burrow, eyes locked, body coiling for less than a heartbeat. Then, impact. The prey's shell fractures, and a puff of silt swirls into the water. The shrimp retreats with its meal, disassembling the victim methodically, piece by piece. Even as it feeds, the mantis shrimp remains alert, ever watchful for intruders. Rival males occasionally challenge each other, and when they do, the duels are both brutal and ritualized. Rather than immediately bludgeoning one another, they often perform merrill spreads, raising their clubs outward to display bright patches of color along their arms. These signals serve as warnings, allowing combatants to assess size and readiness before deciding whether to strike. Violence is reserved for those unwilling to back down, a pragmatic display of restraint from an animal capable of breaking bone. Their aggression, however, is balanced by intricate social and sensory behaviors. Some species form monogamous pairs, sharing dens and alternating roles in maintenance and defense. Within these partnerships, coordination is precise. One shrimp patrols while the other repairs, both using vibrations and polarized signals to communicate. The reef to them is not chaos but a landscape of coded light and sound, a sensory web where every movement carries meaning. Their polarization vision, invisible to most other creatures, functions almost like a private language. Many mantis shrimp display unique polarization patterns on their exoskeletons, which they can interpret through their own specialized photoreceptors. To us, their bodies glint with color. To them, those colors are messages, markers of identity, or even warnings invisible to outsiders. The ecological role of the mantis shrimp extends beyond violence. By breaking down the shells of crustaceans and mollusks, they release nutrients locked in calcium carbonate armor back into the ecosystem, contributing to the cycle of decomposition and reef regeneration. Their burrows also serve as micro-habitats for smaller organisms, goby fish, worms, and tiny crustaceans that shelter in the tunnels when the mantis shrimp is away hunting. Despite their reputation for aggression, they are inadvertent caretakers of the reef's complexity. Every strike that shatters a shell also nourishes life unseen. Within their dens, mantis shrimp display habits that blur the line between instinct and strategy. They often seal their burrow entrances with stones, coral fragments, or even discarded shells, constructing movable doors that keep predators out while allowing ventilation. At night, when threats multiply, the shrimp may roll a pebble into place and wedge it securely, resting inside like a soldier behind fortified gates. Some species excavate new chambers as they grow, enlarging their homes or shifting to better hunting grounds. Over years, these modifications shape small reef landscapes, creating networks of burrows that interconnect like tunnels in an underground city. Each is uniquely tuned to its architect's body size and weapon reach, a coral metropolis of one-occupant bunkers. Despite its apparent ferocity, the mantis shrimp faces dangers of its own. Larger predators, including moray eels and reef fish, occasionally attempt to invade its dens. For these intruders, the shrimp's defense is immediate and decisive. It slams its club against the attacker's snout, often inflicting enough pain to send it fleeing. Still, not all threats come from nature. Human interference, particularly habitat destruction, sedimentation, and aquarium collection, has begun to disrupt their populations. Because many species are small and localized, even minor reef degradation can erase entire colonies. Their existence depends on the stability of coral systems already under pressure from warming seas and pollution. To watch a mantis shrimp in motion is to witness an evolutionary paradox. It is both predator and artist, warrior and builder. The speed of its strike is balanced by the delicacy of its craftsmanship, its fury offset by its precision. Every blow is guided not by chaos but by calculation, a controlled explosion governed by physics and perfected by time. In its world, energy is currency, and survival depends on the efficient transfer of that energy through motion, sound, and light. As the sun sinks and the reef begins to cool, the mantis shrimp retreats to its burrow. The den door slides shut, sealing the world outside. Faint vibrations ripple through the sand as it drums softly, a final signal to all who listen that this patch of coral belongs to it. Inside, the creature rests, encased in armor that has withstood countless impacts. Around it, the reef hums with life, unaware that one of its smallest residents wields power rivaling a machine's. The mantis shrimp, part engineer, part assassin, part artist of destruction, remains the reef's artillery, an evolutionary masterpiece of speed, strength, and perception. The reef after sunset becomes an entirely different planet. Light fades from gold to indigo, and the water thickens with the hush of nocturnal life emerging from crevices. Tiny crustaceans drift upward in glittering clouds, Octopuses unfurl from their dens. Shadows lengthen across coral ledges. From one of those shadows, a slender head protrudes, the jaws parting in slow, rhythmic gulps. Two rows of needle-like teeth gleam in the dim light, catching the phosphorescence of the plankton. The moray eel, long confined to the safety of its lair by day, has come out to hunt. A moray eel is a creature built for the labyrinth. Its body, bonelessly supple, muscular yet serpentine, is perfectly adapted to the narrow crevices of coral reefs and rock rubble. Most predatory fish rely on suction feeding, opening their mouths to create pressure that draws prey inward. But the moray's body, designed for twisting through tunnels, lacks the cavernous buccal cavity to generate such force. To compensate, evolution gave it something far stranger, an extra set of jaws hidden in its throat. These are the pharyngeal jaws, an independent inner mouth armed with teeth and capable of launching forward to seize prey and drag it down the gullet. Few predators have a feeding mechanism as bizarre or as cinematic. When a moray bites, the outer jaws first clamp onto the prey's body, holding it still. Then, from deep within the throat, a second pair of jaws slides forward, propelled by specialized muscles. These pharyngeal jaws latch onto the prey and retract, pulling it backward into the esophagus. It is a sequence straight out of science fiction, and for years even marine biologists assumed morays swallowed like other fish. Only with slow-motion videography did researchers witness the truth, a double strike that redefined our understanding of predation underwater. The function of this second set of jaws is not just mechanical, but ecological. It allows morays to hunt in confined spaces where other predators cannot maneuver. They can slip headfirst into coral holes, seize a crab or fish, and reel it out without ever needing to back up or gulp water inwards. The system also makes them remarkably versatile. Morays can feed on large, struggling prey without losing grip, their inner jaws working like conveyor belts powered by muscle precision rather than brute force. As night deepens, the moray's senses take command. It does not hunt by sight. Its small, round eyes are adapted for low light but provide little detail. Instead, it relies on a highly refined sense of smell and touch. The nostrils, one pair tubular and protruding, the other near the mouth, sample chemical gradients in the water, detecting minute traces of wounded or breathing prey. Along its skin, a lateral line system senses vibrations and currents, helping the eel navigate the three-dimensional maze of the reef. Unlike the smooth skin of most fish, the moray's body is coated in a thick layer of mucus that reduces friction, allowing it to twist through narrow crevices without tearing delicate tissue. This mucus layer also plays a defensive role, deterring parasites and reducing drag in turbulent water. A hunting moray moves like smoke underwater, unhurried but unstoppable. Its long body ripples in slow undulations, the head weaving between coral branches and rocks. The jaws open and close rhythmically, not in aggression but respiration, the gill openings behind its head pulsing to draw water. Then, in an instant, it strikes. The attack is explosive, the outer jaws snapping shut with millisecond precision. The prey, a hapless fish or crab, barely struggles before the pharyngeal jaws surge forward, hauling it into the darkness of the eel's throat. The moray retreats backward into the reef, disappearing as if it were never there. Yet morays are not solitary hunters all the time. In some parts of the Indo-Pacific, they form one of the most extraordinary partnerships in the ocean, an alliance with groupers. The grouper, a large, boulder-shaped predator, lacks the eel's flexibility but makes up for it with speed and power. The moray, by contrast, is slow but can invade tight spaces. Together, they become a two-part hunting system that overcomes each of their weaknesses. The cooperation begins with a signal. A grouper approaches a resting moray and performs a distinct behavior, shaking its head or performing a headstand near the eel's den. This invitation signal is a call to arms, an invitation to join forces for a joint hunt. If the moray is receptive, it slips from its hole and follows the grouper through the reef. The duo moves with uncanny coordination, the grouper sweeping above the coral, while the moray threads through the gaps below. When prey hides in a crevice, the grouper hovers outside, blocking escape routes, while the moray dives in. If the prey bolts from the other side, the grouper intercepts it. Sometimes they even switch roles, with the eel flushing prey outward and the grouper waiting to ambush. Studies have shown that these cooperative hunts dramatically increase success rates for both predators, up to 5 times more effective than when they hunt alone. The relationship is not based on loyalty or emotion, but efficiency. The two species recognize mutual advantage and act on it instinctively. They have learned to communicate across evolutionary lines, an apex reef fish and a serpentine predator coordinating through simple gestures. In a complex ecosystem where most interactions are defined by competition, this partnership stands as a rare example of interspecies collaboration driven purely by ecological logic. The moray's cooperation with groupers also highlights its behavioral intelligence. Far from being primitive reptiles of the reef, morays exhibit memory and context-dependent decision-making. Experiments show they can recognize familiar partners and adjust their responses to hunting signals accordingly. They can also learn from repeated encounters which groupers are efficient allies and which are not, a rudimentary form of social evaluation. Despite their fearsome reputation, morays are not mindless aggressors. Most species are shy and nocturnal, spending daylight hours wedged deep in coral heads or crevices. During this time, they ventilate their gills by opening and closing their mouths, a motion often mistaken for menace by divers but actually just breathing. Some species, like the snowflake moray, are specialists in crustacean hunting, using blunt teeth to crush shells. Others, like the giant moray, are apex predators capable of taking down parrotfish and octopus. Each occupies a niche, ensuring that multiple species can coexist across the same reef without competing directly. The anatomy of their bite is both weapon and warning. Morays lack the paired pectoral fins that most fish use to stabilize movement, relying entirely on undulation to swim. This method allows for stealth but limits speed, forcing them to rely on ambush rather than chase. Their teeth, sharp, recurved, and translucent, are designed not to cut but to hold, preventing any prey from slipping away once impaled. Because their jaws do not protrude far from the head, a strike looks almost like a lunge of the entire skull, powered by neck muscles that can wrench even large prey free from coral crevices. In their ecological role, moray eels are both predators and recyclers. By preying on wounded or hiding fish, they prevent disease and balance population pressures within reef communities. Their dens, once abandoned, often become micro-habitats for shrimp and small fish, turning death traps into safe havens. The mucus coating they leave behind even alters local microbial communities, influencing how bacteria colonize reef crevices. In this way, the moray's presence shapes not only predator-prey dynamics, but also the microscopic ecology of the reef itself. For all their power, morays face dangers that evolution never prepared them for. Habitat degradation, coral bleaching, and overfishing threaten the intricate reef networks they depend on. Morays often fall victim to bycatch, trapped in nets where their thrashing causes them to be labeled as pests rather than keystone predators. Yet, where reefs remain healthy, they endure, ancient symbols of adaptability in a world that rewards precision over speed, strategy over brute strength. As dawn approaches, the moray returns to its den. The first rays of sunlight filter down through the water column, illuminating the coral with gold and turquoise. The eel's head re-emerges for a moment, jaws opening and closing in a slow rhythm as it draws fresh oxygen across its gills. Its body disappears into shadow, leaving only the faint gleam of its eyes watching the reef. Somewhere nearby, a grouper passes, its thick fins stirring the sand. It pauses briefly at the moray's den, giving a slow, deliberate shake. The eel does not respond. It has already eaten. But the gesture hangs in the water, a quiet echo of an alliance that will begin again when night falls. The moray eel is a paradox, ancient yet intelligent, reclusive yet social, an ambush predator that also architects the hidden geometry of the reef. Its second set of jaws, its mucus armor, and its secret partnerships reveal a creature shaped by necessity and refined by evolution's most intricate design. In the darkness of the coral labyrinth, it remains both engineer and executioner, an enduring symbol of how ingenuity, even in its strangest forms, rules the underwater world. The sun is just rising over the bay, a sheet of molten copper spread across the water. The air carries the faint hum of distant boats, the crackle of shrimp beneath the surface, and, woven faintly through it all, the unseen chatter of dolphins. Their voices travel through the sea like threads of light, carrying information about everything within range. The contours of the seabed, the density of a fish school, even the pulse of another dolphin's heartbeat. For these animals, sound is not simply communication, it is architecture. Through echoes, they build maps of their world far richer than any visual panorama. Dolphins live in a universe of sound. Beneath the surface, where light fades within a few dozen meters, vision becomes unreliable. But sound travels roughly 5 times faster in water than in air, and dolphins have mastered its precision. Their sonar, known as biosonar or echolocation, is a biological marvel of physics and adaptation. From specialized structures in their foreheads called the melon, they focus bursts of high-frequency clicks into narrow beams. Each click strikes objects ahead, fish, coral, even individual bubbles, and bounces back as a cascade of echoes. The returning sounds are analyzed by fat-filled cavities in their lower jaws, which conduct vibrations directly to the middle ear. Within milliseconds, the dolphin constructs a mental image of its surroundings in 3 dimensions. This sensory portrait is more detailed than human sight. A trained bottlenose dolphin can distinguish between objects differing by less than a few millimeters in thickness using sound alone. It can see through murky water, sand, or darkness, recognizing not just shape, but texture and density. When scanning a fish school, the dolphin can interpret the varying echo returns to identify which individuals are healthy, which are weak, and which are small enough to target. In effect, it is performing a biological form of beamforming, a technique mirrored in human sonar and radar systems, concentrating sound energy in specific directions to resolve fine details. The ocean becomes a constantly updated acoustic sculpture, a world shaped by returning waves and analyzed through an organ evolved for both beauty and precision. But sound is not only a sense, it is a tool. In shallow coastal waters, dolphins have turned acoustics into strategy. One of their most remarkable techniques involves cooperative hunting, where multiple individuals work together to corral prey using sound and motion. Off the coasts of Florida and the Bahamas, bottlenose dolphins are seen forming mud rings. One dolphin circles a school of fish in the shallows, beating its tail against the seafloor to stir up a vertical wall of mud. The fish, panicking, leap over the perceived barrier, straight into the open mouths of waiting dolphins. The efficiency of this tactic relies not just on physical coordination, but on communication. Through whistles and clicks, the dolphins time their maneuvers, spacing themselves with precision so that no prey escapes. In deeper or colder waters, another version of this tactic plays out with air instead of mud. Spinner and spotted dolphins collaborate to create bubble walls or bubble nets, encircling schools of fish or squid with columns of rising air. These pressure barriers, shaped and maintained through coordinated swimming, disorient prey and compress them into dense balls that can be attacked from below. The dolphins use echolocation to monitor the shape and density of the bubble corral, adjusting their movements to keep the prey contained. What appears as playful spiraling from above is, in truth, tactical choreography guided by invisible acoustic feedback. Such cooperation reveals not just intelligence but culture. Dolphins learn these techniques from one another, passing them down through generations. In Shark Bay, Australia, a population of bottlenose dolphins has developed a unique form of tool use known as sponging. Individual females, mostly mothers and daughters, tear marine sponges from the seafloor and wear them over their snouts as protective gloves. Using these sponges, they probe sandy bottoms for hidden fish without injuring their sensitive rostrums. The behavior is not innate. Calves observe their mothers for years before mastering the technique themselves. This is cultural transmission, knowledge passed not through instinct, but through teaching and observation. In some areas, neighboring groups of dolphins even exhibit distinct dialects of whistle calls and foraging techniques, the marine equivalent of regional traditions. In other parts of the Indo-Pacific, dolphins have been observed practicing shelling, another example of innovation. When fish seek refuge inside empty shells, dolphins lift the shells to the surface, tilt them upward, and flush the trapped prey into their mouths with a gulp of water. This manipulation of objects, combining physics, buoyancy, and learned behavior, demonstrates a level of problem-solving once thought exclusive to primates and certain birds. Each discovery adds another layer to our understanding of their minds. They're not merely performers of instinct, but engineers of opportunity. The same cognitive prowess that drives their foraging also governs their social lives. Dolphins live in fluid societies known as fission-fusion networks, where alliances form and dissolve based on context. Cooperative males may team up for years to court females or defend territories, maintaining relationships through tactile gestures and vocal exchanges. These calls are more than noise, they are identity markers. Each dolphin develops a unique signature whistle, a sound comparable to a name, which other dolphins can recognize even after years apart. When an individual calls another's signature, the response is often immediate, suggesting a level of social memory rivaling that of elephants or great apes. Sound is their social currency, but it is also their lifeline, and in the modern ocean, that lifeline is under siege. Human noise from shipping lanes, sonar testing, drilling, and recreational boating has transformed the acoustic landscape of coastal seas. Low-frequency rumbles from engines mask the frequencies used in dolphin communication, while intense sonar pulses can disorient or even damage delicate hearing structures. For dolphins hunting near busy harbors, background noise creates chaos. Echoes blur, prey become harder to detect, and coordination within pods breaks down. Studies in regions like the Mediterranean and the Gulf of Mexico show measurable declines in foraging success correlated with high noise levels. In essence, humans are flooding the dolphins' sensory world with interference, rendering them partially blind in their own medium. Some dolphins adapt by shifting frequency ranges or increasing vocal amplitude, a phenomenon known as the Lombard effect. But these compensations carry costs. Louder calls require more energy and risk attracting predators or competitors. Over time, chronic exposure to noise may induce stress and alter reproductive success, subtle but cumulative impacts that ripple across generations. The irony is inescapable. The same species whose sonar inspired our naval and navigational technologies is now being deafened by their human equivalents. Despite these pressures, dolphins remain masters of acoustic adaptation. In quieter sanctuaries and remote reefs, they still weave their intricate soundscapes. A pod on the hunt may fan out in a crescent formation, each individual emitting focused click trains that overlap to create a shared acoustic map. Their combined sonar covers hundreds of meters of reef, each dolphin interpreting a different portion of the collective echo chorus. It is a living form of distributed computing, each mind processing a fragment of the acoustic field, all contributing to a single synchronized perception of the environment. Their play, too, is a form of experimentation. Young dolphins blow perfect rings of air that hold their shape like glass hoops, then chase, deform, and split them, studying the fluid dynamics of vortices without knowing they are doing so. Such behaviors sharpen coordination and control, teaching calves how to modulate airflow, buoyancy, and orientation, skills essential for producing complex sounds and for fine maneuvering during hunts. Even play in dolphin society is functional architecture, practice for constructing and manipulating the physical and acoustic fabric of their world. When night falls and visibility drops to nothing, the dolphin's universe remains bright. Their echolocation pulses trace the contours of rocks and fish as if painting in sound. In these moments, the ocean is alive not with sight but with resonance, a constant hum of clicks, chirps, and whistles bouncing from every surface. A single dolphin click can illuminate a scene hundreds of meters away. Every returning echo refines a mental model of the reef or estuary, not as a static image, but as a living, moving symphony. Dolphins are the sound architects of the sea. Through acoustics, they have built societies, refined hunting into art, and turned perception itself into a tool. But like all architects, they depend on the integrity of their materials. In this case, the purity of silence between signals. If the ocean becomes too loud, their architecture collapses. What we stand to lose is not merely an intelligent species, but one of nature's most advanced engineers of sound. A mind that perceives the sea as a living map of echoes, harmonies, and meaning. The mangrove shallows at dawn seem tranquil. The water lies glassy, its surface broken only by the soft ripple of incoming tide. Roots rise like tangled stilts from the silt, their shadows reaching down into a liquid haze. Schools of silverfish flicker between the roots, bait drawn by the morning light. Everything feels still, until something unseen drifts by. No sound, no ripple, no warning. Just a faint shimmer in the current, like heat rising in air. A few moments later, one fish jerks sideways, convulses, and goes still. What brushed it was nearly invisible, yet lethally precise. A box jellyfish, nature's silent assassin, suspended in plain sight. The box jellyfish is not a mindless drifter. Its bell, perfectly square and translucent, pulses with deliberate rhythm, propelling it forward through the mangrove channels with surprising control. Unlike most jellyfish, which move passively at the mercy of tides, the box jellyfish can swim directionally, steering with muscular precision. Its box-like shape grants it hydrodynamic stability, allowing it to glide smoothly rather than pulse erratically. Within its bell, a network of nerves, primitive but efficient, coordinates its movement, adjusting to currents and obstacles. It is a predator that hunts, not one that merely waits. Its weapons are among the most sophisticated biological mechanisms on Earth. Along the margins of its tentacles are millions of tiny capsules called nematocysts, microscopic harpoons powered by osmotic pressure. When triggered, each nematocyst fires in less than a millionth of a second, launching a hollow coiled tubule tipped with a venomous barb. This is one of the fastest cellular processes known to science, faster than the snap of a mantis shrimp's claw or the contraction of human muscle. The speed and force are so extreme that the tubule can penetrate the outer layer of a fish's scales or even human skin with ease. Once the barb embeds, venom floods the wound. This chemical cocktail is a masterpiece of efficiency. It targets both the nervous system and the heart, overwhelming muscle control and triggering cardiac arrest in seconds. For small prey such as fish or crustaceans, it is instant immobilization. For larger animals, humans included, the danger lies in the density of stings. A single tentacle can contain thousands of nematocysts. Brush against several, and the result can be fatal before a swimmer even reaches shore. Yet paradoxically, the jellyfish itself remains delicate, easily torn by nets or waves. It wields death with a body more fragile than paper. To call the box jellyfish blind would be misleading. Around the bell's four corners are sensory structures known as rhopalia, each bearing clusters of eyes. Some are simple light sensors, but others, up to 24 in total, possess lenses, retinas, and even pupils capable of focusing. They can form crude images, enough to detect mangrove roots, sandbanks, and prey silhouettes. The jellyfish uses this visual feedback to navigate and to avoid obstacles, a rare ability among gelatinous animals. It swims toward open water when light levels rise and returns to sheltered shallows when they dim. Researchers have found that individuals can learn simple spatial patterns, suggesting a form of visual memory, a faint echo of cognition in a creature without a brain. The mangrove channels of northern Australia and Southeast Asia are seasonal battlefields of these drifting hunters. During warm months, when plankton blooms and small fish fill the tidal lagoons, box jellyfish emerge in pulses, their numbers rising with the water temperature. At first, they are tiny and almost harmless, barely the size of a fingernail. But within weeks, they grow into palm-sized juveniles, then into fully developed adults with tentacles several meters long. Their clear bodies make them nearly impossible to spot in shallow water. To a swimmer, they are transparent traps waiting in the tide. The mangroves become a living minefield, each tide change resetting the pattern of danger. The strategy of drifting through mangrove channels serves multiple purposes. The complex root networks funnel fish and crustaceans into narrow spaces where escape becomes difficult. Here, the jellyfish's tentacles hang like invisible drift nets, each capable of sensing the faintest vibration. When a fish brushes against one, the contact triggers a chain reaction along the tentacle, firing clusters of nematocysts simultaneously. Within moments, the prey is paralyzed, its heartbeat stilled. The tentacle retracts, coiling like a winch to bring the prey to the bell's rim, where cilia guide it to the mouth. In less than a minute, digestion begins. Nothing is wasted, not even the scales. Despite its fearsome reputation, the box jellyfish is not a random killer. Most stings occur when humans inadvertently enter its hunting grounds, shallow waters near river mouths or mangrove creeks where the jellyfish follow prey. They are not drawn to people, they are simply efficient predators, occupying the same territory at the wrong time. The stories of their venom being the deadliest on Earth are partly true but often exaggerated. The risk is highly variable, depending on species, sting area, and venom delivery. Of the dozens of known box jellyfish species, only a few possess venom potent enough to kill humans rapidly. Yet the danger is amplified by invisibility and unpredictability, a hazard more psychological than statistical. First aid treatments for stings have evolved alongside our understanding of their chemistry. For decades, vinegar has been recommended to neutralize undischarged nematocysts, preventing further venom release. Recent studies confirm that vinegar indeed stabilizes the capsules, though it cannot reverse the effects of injected venom. The most critical response remains immediate medical intervention, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and antivenom where available. Myths persist about remedies ranging from alcohol to urine, none effective and some harmful. Even in the age of science, the fear of the box jellyfish carries a folklore of its own, fueled by stories of sudden death in paradise. From an evolutionary perspective, the box jellyfish's adaptations represent precision rather than brutality. Its venom evolved not for large animals but for swift prey in motion. To paralyze a darting fish requires a chemical weapon that acts in seconds. The nematocyst's speed, the venom's potency, and the jellyfish's visual navigation all converge on this single ecological goal: efficiency. The consequence for humans is incidental, a misalignment of scale and circumstance. Yet as oceans warm and coastal development expands, encounters between box jellyfish and humans increase. Rising sea temperatures extend their breeding seasons, while artificial lights near beaches attract plankton, which in turn attract jellyfish. Mangroves, once isolated ecosystems, now border resorts and fishing villages. Fishermen pulling nets or swimmers wading through turbid shallows often enter the jellyfish's invisible grid. For coastal communities, these encounters are not myths, but annual threats woven into local knowledge, shaping fishing patterns, tourism schedules, and public health responses. Even within their deadly elegance, box jellyfish play vital ecological roles. As mid-level predators, they regulate populations of small fish and planktonic larvae, preventing overgrazing of microscopic algae that sustain coastal food webs. Their presence influences the spatial behavior of other animals. Small fish learn to avoid certain tidal paths, shaping the distribution of prey across the ecosystem. In death, their decomposing bodies release organic material that feeds countless invertebrates, from worms to crustaceans, closing the nutrient loop in mangrove and estuarine systems. What makes the box jellyfish most remarkable, however, is its duality, a creature at once primitive and complex. It lacks a centralized brain, bones, or a heart, yet it navigates, hunts, and learns. Its body is little more than a network of nerves suspended in gel, yet from this simplicity emerges a precision biological machine. It embodies the principle that evolution rewards efficiency, not extravagance. Where vertebrates build complexity through organs and skeletons, the jellyfish achieves mastery through minimalism. When the tide ebbs and the mangrove shadows stretch long, the box jellyfish drifts back toward deeper channels. Its bell pulses softly, translucent as light itself. The fish have retreated to safer depths, the birds call above the canopy, and the tide whispers against the roots. In the silence that follows, the water seems empty again. But the minefield remains, patient and invisible, waiting for the next tide to stir it to life. The box jellyfish, delicate yet deadly, endures as a reminder that the ocean's most dangerous predators are not always the largest or loudest. They are the ones you never see coming.